We all have a story, and all Star Wars fans have a Star Wars story. Join James as he talks with a special guest each episode to share their Star Wars story. Here's James.
Welcome to the Outlander Club. I'm James Razile. This is a show where we tell your Star Wars story. Today's guest is staying Bombad to my right.
Right
Oh, there you go. Stay Bombad.
The shirt is on.
Yeah, the shirt is on. His name is Scotty Jayro. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. And all I could say is this right here, this is the motto, okay? I live by this. It's up for you too. That's all up for interpretation. I don't know what it means. I'm going to make a video on it soon. We'll figure out what it means at some point.
You don't know
at
what
some
it
point.
means.
It'll manifest. Yeah. I'm good though.
It means,
I'm staying Bombad.
I think it's definitely positive. That's what it is.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This is awesome. But wanted to do this for a while, and we finally are doing it. I've only asked you once, but still, it's been on my mind for a while. I'm very lazy.
At least you asked. Some people just get upset when they don't show up. You know, imagine if you were like, I wanted him to be here, but I didn't send him a link.
You have been on our show, kind of. You probably forgot, but when COVID first hit, we did like a show every day. It was ridiculous. We lost subscribers, but we did a show like every day. And you did a how you were keeping busy during COVID.
I do remember this.
And I don't remember what you said because it's been a long time and I haven't watched it in a while. But you were outside. I remember it was warm and I was frozen, and you were keeping busy. Yeah. So this is always technically your second time here on Rebel Scum.
Wow. I'm honored. See, you realize these things. This is how it works. When you're a viral star. Not really.
Viral, that's what Bombad means.
Yes. Viral star. And Jar Jar used it. I mean, look, hold on. I wish he said it, but he doesn't say it. How great would that be? He's like,
that might be better. Well, if he said Bombad, you should.
Oh, I would literally, what's it called? When you monopolize it, I would take all these from every store in the world and just sell them at like unbelievable values, and just
I see that
everyone in the world has to own it.
You'd be holding the Jar Jar instead of his blaster.
Yeah, exactly. And then Grogu would be Jar Jar. Jar Jar would be everywhere. Jar Jar is
Grogu
everywhere.
Would be gone.
Yes, gone.
Grogu. Before we get started, Grogu or baby Jar Jar? What would you?
I would love to see baby Jar Jar. I really would. I wonder if he'd be cute or so ugly he is cute. Because Grogu's like inherently cute. Big eyes, big ears. Like everyone thinks that's cute. Like something in our human brains, like that's cute back there, you know? But like Jar Jar, like the eyes that go above his head, like it's so foreign and weird. I don't know if people would find baby Jar Jar to be like inherently cute, you know?
Well, I say we challenge Lucasfilm, who watch this every second they can. They're on.
I know they do.
They're our only subscribers.
They share it. It's crazy. They've actually retweeted y'all stuff. No one else.
That's all they do. That's all they do.
They're going to retweet this today. I'm so excited.
Before this airs, they're retweeting it right now.
Yes.
We're challenging them. Baby Jar Jar, bring it. What, like Muppet Babies, but with baby Jar Jar.
God, it'd be great. Yeah. Baby Jar Jar, baby Sebulba, like get all the Phantom, baby Watto. That'd be terrifying. Just like a little, just like a little baby version of that. Gaga. Rolling dice.
I am excited to get further because you just had a Jar Jar plushie right there, and that excites me because, like I told you before we started recording, up until recently, a few years ago, no one liked Jar Jar. I was alone on this island, and all of a sudden these boats started rolling up. And it's not that I was anything special. I was probably like special, but it was all people like your age were coming together now, and we're like, we grew up with this, and you started rolling. We all got this island now, and now there's this giant party. And I'm kind of pushed. I'm the old guy at the side of the party. Like I shouldn't be there. I'm awkwardly standing with a drink, like Matthew McConaughey and and Days of Confused.
Yes,
older though. Yeah, and that's
even older.
Party. That's me at this party.
Well,
I'm like,
the best thing about that is it's like it's a renaissance. Obviously, it's a good thing. It's happening, but like you're the trooper for sticking through to it, because some people like even gave into that hate, you know, people that normally wouldn't were like, he sucks, you know, but like, it's crazy at the time. And I'm sure you remember this in 2014, when like the Force Awakens was like starting to ramp up its marketing. JJ's like, well, we were going to throw the skeleton of Jar Jar Binks in the sands of Jakku. And I'm like, even then, before I was I had gotten fully back into the fandom, I was like, that doesn't sit well with me. Like, he didn't. No. What did he do? Like, he didn't do anything to anyone. Like, why would we say that? You know. But anyway,
I didn't like that comment.
Yeah,
that actually made me. I don't want to talk about, but that made me kind of second guess J.J. Abrams as a director of the movie.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, you've got to appreciate. I think you've got to appreciate what came before, whether you like it or not. It's there. It's part of the history of it, and that I was never into Darth Jar Jar. That was never my thing because I was I'm a Jar Jar purist. Yeah, but there's a part of me that's kind of like, if you bring him back evil now, I'm kind of moving on. I'm like,
sure,
I just want him back.
Yes.
Like, just bring him back.
Capacity, like when Clone Wars, when he was in the Clone Wars episodes, and honestly, some of the funniest episodes of Clone Wars is when Jar Jar's in there, and he's like the part where he's like balancing out the Nemoidians with what's going on in the background. I'm like, that's brilliant. Like, this is what Jar Jar's good at. And I don't know. I love this character for that reason. He's just so, I don't know, he's just so pure. It's a good word for it. He's just 100% himself. No problem with that.
He's very I think he's very Star Wars.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, there's something about him that even when you saw it 20 whatever years ago, it was like, oh, that's Star Wars. There's just something about him that's Star Wars. It's not. Is that the Explorers? What's that from? No, it's 100% Star Wars. But let's get into your Star Wars story. Let's do it.
Please.
We're gonna talk about Jar Jar when we get to Jar Jar. But you are a prequel. You are a child of the prequels. I'm a child of the OT, the original trilogy. But I love my prequels.
But it's funny, like it's like I'm almost jealous of that too. You know, I'm lucky to be a prequel baby because I had them. They were already like, look, I can pull it up right. I have my original box set. They already existed. Yeah. Like, this was in my home. I was born in '95, and I remember literally like putting these VHSs in like at 2 or 3 years old. Like, I know this was a fact, or my dad had them in, or whatever. And like, it's so bad because the special editions they're in their own right. You know, the definitive versions, but like, in terms of preference, like, I'm not playing the original Disney Plus. I'm not playing the Blu-ray versions. I will put these in. I have a VHS player right here and watch these versions because of how much they mean to me. The Leonard Maltin interviews, the THX like trailer before each one of them, where it's like a galaxy far, far away. You know, like, for the very last time. Like, these faces are so important in my childhood, and that's kind of how the journey started. Was like watching these, and then, you know, when you're so young, I was 5 when the Phantom Menace came out. You're so young, like, you don't realize that this is a big event until you see all the stuff around it, like all the marketing around it. And that's kind of where the journey really began, was like, you know, getting fast food, and then you've got a toy, you know, in the thing with Anakin. You got a Jar Jar, you know, with his hands up like this, and you like, he did that, you know. There's like, they had the tongue sucker. I had the tongue sucker, the one where you just make out with Jar Jar the whole time. That was a weird choice, but I had it, you know. My mom.
It's a weird choice now, but looking back, I don't think anyone thought about it.
No,
like, clearly no one thought about it. But that also shows how more innocent we were 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago. Like, we've evolved into something.
Oh,
a little dirtier. So you're 5 years old when the Phantom Menace comes out, but you have those VHS tapes, which I've never owned, by the way. My copies were taped off of either TV or my grandmother's.
Oh, that's still cool, though. I like that.
I didn't even know A New Hope was called A New Hope till the special editions came out of the theater, because my copy started just after.
No way.
It was like partway through the crawl. Yeah, and then like New Hope. I'm like, I've watched Star Wars for a long, like 17 years of my life, and I've never heard that title. They're making this crap up.
Yeah, that's like, amazing. No.
And then I put in my VHS the one day, and it was taped off of Fox.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
No, it might have been something else, but it's something. But anyway, and it was a commercial, and the commercial cut, and there's like partway through the crawl.
Yeah,
and I was like, I couldn't read anyway. It didn't make a difference.
Sure, of course.
But
that's
anyway,
awesome, though.
Yeah, but you have the definitive Star Wars box. Like, that was the biggest deal. I talked to someone else earlier this weekend in Fantasia about that box set, because it's such like an iconic box set to have for Star Wars. And I'm guessing you don't remember the first time you or your dad or someone put that tape.
Yeah, in terms of what I do remember is, and I do vividly remember the first director's name I ever knew was George Lucas, and it was for this reason alone. Like, really, it was because the Leonard Maltin thing at the beginning. I don't know if you've obviously have these, or you've
yes.
Okay, so like the beginning where they're sitting in that room and there's like these weird little lights in the background, and like it's awesome. They're sitting in two directors' chairs, and Leonard Maltin's talking, and like it's him and George, and he's doing this whole George Lucas thing. Well, we're trying to push a technology. He's like doing his thing, and it's amazing. And like as a kid, I'm like, what's happening? Like I'm seeing like a proto podcast. Like I'm seeing podcasting before it happened. It's like odd. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're taking all this in, and it's just George just being George, dropping bombshells, and just I'm watching it, and that's kind of the thing where you realize this all has existed before you. And, these movies are obviously old. My dad told me he grew up watching these. He remember seeing them in theaters. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool at a really young age. And when The Phantom Menace was coming out, I do remember him taking me to a theater, him and my grandfather. And all I remember from that movie, two things, is the opening crawl and how loud it was. And if I'm not mistaken, I think someone could fact check me on this, The Phantom Menace is the loudest opening theme in terms of the mixing. I think it's like super, super loud compared to the other ones. There's some way to gauge that. I know for a fact, because I think George in the commentary even said that. He's like, we made this note like the absolute sharpest, like most staccato note we could hit.
You might be
from the beginning.
That sounds familiar.
So I'm sitting there. I remember the opening crawl vividly. I remember the ship flying by. I remember the Trade Federation ship when he flies into it. Like all that's vivid. Kind of past that, I don't remember that first viewing until the pod race, and I don't know why. I will always remember Anakin winning the pod race. It was the equivalent to Luke blowing up the Death Star for me. I cheered. I was excited. So like everything else after that was probably just from VHS rewatches, like ingraining in my brain.
It's fun. It's funny you mentioned the pod race, because I love the pod. I love huge fan of the pod race. It's one of my favorites. But there are so many people that don't like it, or they complain how long it is.
It's perfect.
And it maybe it's an age thing. Like you're like, again,
sure.
Because but for me, I don't know. It's too long. I'm like, but that's the movie. Like it's a pivotal part of the movie, and it's very entertaining, and a lot's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could have gone for, I have the pod racing video game for N64.
Of course. I have it right here. Yep.
Yes, you do.
Perfect. It's the perfect game. And then
good.
The thing about the pod races, and you're watching it, and obviously it's just it's like the speeder bike chase, but better.
Yes. It's
like and it's also like, the hot rod scenes in American Graffiti. It's like everything that George loved, he just did. And I always say this on my Twitter page, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's like, I say it's the most pure Star Wars movie because George honestly was not told no. Rick McCallum told him yes to everything. And so when it came to like the pod race scene, that's I think 15 minutes of the movie or 17 minutes of the movie. It's great. It's great. And it's real, and it feels like an awesome moment. The what's the word I'm looking for? Anthropology. Yeah, no, anthropology. The cultural aspect of it, like it establishes everything so well. The Boonta Eve Classic's a big moment. And like even as a kid with the flags and the wind, I mean, that was a beautiful visual. It felt so real. Yeah. It felt so real. It for the first time, I think, it was convincing enough to not, feel like a puppet or anything. It looked awesome. It still looks good. It holds up. Great. It holds up. Agree.
But I got a side Akbar here.
Here we go.
Because you mentioned a name, and I was going to wait for a perfect entry point to this topic.
Here it is.
But what I'm
Let's
going.
Talk it.
Oh, so yeah. I was 18 or so when the Phantom Menace came out. Then I hit college for the next movie, and then I was out of college by the end of it. And this one producer's name always popped up all the time, and I would live on the internet at this time, as because that's what I was older than you. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And you would read all the things as like Rick McCallum screwed up. It was always this Rick McCallum hate on every level because he was exactly what you said, but you said it in
yes
a positive
man.
way. He was a yes man. He sat there and he's like, George wants to do this. We're going to do this.
Let's do it.
We're going to do this. But so Rick McCallum's always been somebody, and I will admit, I was disappointed when his name was not around for the sequel. I was just like, but he became part of Star Wars for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was Gary Kurtz for the original, but that was too. I mean, I was born in '81, so I never had that relationship there. I don't know if anyone did because there was no online or anything. But McCallum was always there, and he always would talk. And you 20 years later are a fanboy of Rick
You want to know
McCallum.
why? He's that last part of Hollywood. You don't see that anymore. And at least to me, you've got Hollywood producers who obviously have to be like the presidents. They have to be kind of like the stoic. They don't really curse. They don't really say anything. But when you watch the beginning documentary, or even the Phantom Menace, about the Attack of the Clones one, or Revenge of the Sith, that dude's dropping F-bombs. That dude's chewing gum like a lot, drinking coffee. Like he's got this like mode that you don't see anymore in BTS's, where it's like he's kind of anxious. He's kind of like, hyper aware. And like, I literally, every time I watched him, like how I wish that person still existed. And I hope I can manifest that one day. Like, I hope I am that like on top of it. Oh God, he's so cool. I can't figure it out. And I don't know, maybe because he's balding and he's just like, he's everything. He's just like super straightforward. I don't know. You don't see that anymore. And I think I like him so much because he's hilarious. He's just like so unabashedly himself. And, George is too. That whole crew that made the prequels are 100% authentic. And when you watch those BTS docs, you're just like, man, I'm drawn into it. But I don't know why these past 2 years, I've been like on this Rick McCallum high. And I've got, like, I'll hold on. I'll bring it up here. I have this print. It's Talking Bay 94, Brandon Winerdy. Yeah. I got a DM from him and he said, you need to buy this. And it was like $100. The shipping was expensive. I'm like, do I need this? He goes, oh yeah, you need this. And this is the only print I could find anywhere from it. It's from an artist named Matt Bush. Okay. I don't know if you can see it. It is Rick and George. It's a print that I think they had commissioned, and I don't know how it ended up. It ended up in a comic book shop in Chicago, and it is the strangest thing in the world. It's signed by the artist. It's a nice print. It's not an original, but like in terms of what it looks like, and it's just wild. They market it as Ewan McGregor and George Lucas, and I'm like, that's definitely not Ewan McGregor.
That actually looks nicer than all of the sequel trilogy posters. Actually,
isn't that funny? God, that's funny to me.
That is amazing. That first of all, they were able to find that, and that you were able to grab it is even
like
it's
a wild
domino effect of awesomeness that goes on there.
Well, it's when you're the only Rick McCallum like stan on the internet. I really think that's how it has to happen. I've emailed his company. Like, you have no idea how many times I've reached out to try to get a 5-minute phone call, like anything. My fiance said we can have our honeymoon in Prague so I can stand outside of the damn studio he works at to meet him. I'm like, that's it. We're going to Prague, baby.
We're going to Prague. Rick. I heard it's the nicest city in Europe, so it'll be a nice trip.
Why do you like him? Because I like him for those reasons, but there must be a reason why you enjoy him.
It was just I was in broadcasting school taking a lot of film, and he was just the forefront of everything. And I don't think at the time I did. I think it was like, he's a yes man. He's not making the right decisions. But you have to understand. I've always said, like, Phantom Menace, when I saw it, that was my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Like, when I was in the theater, and I think I was on Around the Galaxy with Pete, and I think I actually picked that movie still. It was like that or Attack of the Clones, like my one. Yeah, but I love Phantom Menace, and I can't ever not. But when Attack of the Clones came out, I was on this website for over a year, and the website had Rick McCallum talk, and I think those YouTube videos that you can find were on there.
Yeah, I think so too.
But there was a chat, and everything was leaked in this movie, like beginning to end was leaked. So when I went in and saw it, it was exactly what I read, but it didn't translate the way that it was in my mind, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And so the first time I saw Attack of the Clones, I was very disappointed in the movie. I was like, oh man, is this a Star Wars movie I don't like? That was like my first thought. Yeah. And I was like, man, Rick McCallum needed to like step up and say no once in a while. Yeah. Then I saw it again when my parents attacked it, because I saw it at like the midnight show, right? The first time. And I was so disappointed. And then I saw it again with my parents a few days later, a week later, and I loved it. Just loved it. Because now I knew exactly what was happening as it was supposed to happen.
Exactly.
It was just I don't know what it was. Just I think just being online ruined the movie for me.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's like because it gave me preconceived notions of everything. Like, and it was everything was there, like Zam Wessel, the
Django,
or whatever her name is at the beginning. Like it was all like everything was beep, 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 beep. And so I was like, man. But the second time I saw it, I knew what was going to happen, but I knew how it played out blocking wise.
And you can accept it too. You know, one part of it is like when The Force Awakens had all of its leaks, you know, and that also was one of those movies that just like, you know, you knew so much going into it, like so much was already been spoiled. And I remember like I knew a handful of things, nothing crazy, but like I had already grown so accustomed with these characters that when that movie came out, like Ray was already like in my brain for like a year at that point, which is crazy to think, you know, and playing to that idea, like when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Like it did stuff I liked. And then when I watched it again, it was the second viewing that I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I can accept it for what it is, you know?
Yeah. I think reading leaks and spoilers it has a negative,
of course,
you know, I don't think it can have a positive one because I mean, I'm worried about by the time this airs, Spider-Man will have come out, but I can't see a world where people like that movie. Like, I'm like, no, you're I don't know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
But you're expecting too much.
Yes.
It's just
and you might get a little disappointed.
I just go in there and just be like, you know what?
Take it.
Only what you see in the trailer is happening. Just accept that. And anything else is gravy. Like but that's what happens is all of a sudden you build up and it's no one's fault really. It's human nature where we have expectations and it's impossible to meet. You and I have very different expectations on what we're watching.
Of course.
So it's impossible to get us both. So, but yeah, that definitely, but Rick McCallum, after that, I grew up a bit and like you started watching more and just respected what he was doing. And then the transitions, everything. So just like, and looking back now, you're like, no, he's pretty brilliant because George Lucas, for all the yeses, he had a plan. Like, in every aspect, not just story, but technology, everything around it,
music, all of it. It's crazy. And like when you watch any of the making of docs, or if you watch in particular the beginning, like Rick is, I mean, this is George's vision. I don't know anyone else who could have gave George that perfect of a movie. Like, you know, because a lot of people think the director is the main person. No, I mean, you've got like 50 people that have to make sure that they are on their A game. And the producer's job is to make sure everyone's doing their part. You know, the producer is the manager. The producer has to be a jerk. You know, George can't be a jerk. George is dealing with actors who have, you know, maybe some sort of sensitive feelings towards things. Like George has to be the most chill of them all. But Rick's you gotta be mean to be a producer. And I like watching Rick because he's 100% himself. He's trying to make this thing a reality, and that's never easy to do. I mean, literally, like making a podcast. If it's not exactly how you want it to be, you'll be disappointed. But like, you know, you got to make sure you're aware, you have your P's and Q's lined up for you to have a good show or for you to have a good movie. It's just he's just an inspiration, and not enough people give him that. Like he really is an inspiration. At least
no, I wouldn't disagree. I would have disagreed with you 20 years ago, but I won't today. I'll agree with you today. And it took 5-year-old Scotty to show me the way
for it to manifest. Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually a really good point. And like, I don't know, at 5, I mean, you just and it was before DVDs, at least before I had the Phantom Menace DVD. It was like, you know, I didn't know Rick McCallum was a thing until probably probably 2005 when the Revenge of the Sith, you know, DVD came out, and like I watched that over and over, all the bonus features on that constantly. And then of course when the other DVDs released with the Phantom Menace, I watched the documentary on that. It's just like he was just always there for me. I don't know.
Phantom Menace was the first movie I ever bought on VHS and bought on DVD. Not first ever on VHS. I own it, but it was the first one I owned duplicates of. And I remember being like, this feels weird, but also it's the Phantom Menace, and I can't not own it on both.
Yeah.
Like, that would be stupid. And then I bought it on Blue.
And that's what I was saying. It's so ironic now because like now you own like 4 versions of the same movie, and now it's also on Disney Plus, what you pay for. So it's like the weirdest thing in the world.
I own so many copies of it, but that was the first one where I was like, well, I have to own it on DVD.
Yes,
like I have to. I don't like. How can I not?
Yes,
but that DVD, the prequel DVDs were the best DVDs of all. Like with the behind the scenes and all the special features were
Yep.
just the best.
They were on
best.
par with Lord of the Rings, which
Yeah.
also had an insane BTS
Lord of the
stuff.
Rings was
Every
great,
one of them
yeah.
did. And like,
but Lord of the Rings was 10 years later.
yes.
No, a
yes.
year later.
No,
it 2 years later. 3 years
2
later.
years later. But get this. This is speaking of. I'm going to change your life. If you have those DVDs, or you can find them on YouTube. I've watched them on YouTube. You need to watch the Fellowship making of documentary, and you would not believe the name drop in there. I'm going to say it right now. Peter Jackson's talking about previs. We had to work on previs because the movie was so big. He literally goes, and Lucasfilm's Rick McCallum, came in and he helped. I'm like, what? So I was like, there's no way you just said that,
No
Peter
way.
Jackson. Dude, it's wild. It's
I'm pretty sure I've seen that making of. I probably just never.
Oh, and there's no shots of Rick. There's no shots of George, but apparently Peter Jackson and his partner and I think his producer went to Lucasfilm for like a weekend or like 3 or 4 days, and they talked with Rick and George about previs for this movie. And I'm like, he literally, before he name dropped George Lucas, he name dropped Rick McCallum, and I'm like you said, he was everywhere. He was literally everywhere, and I'm like,
you had respect, clearly.
Whoa. And like, I don't know, it's just surprising that people don't obsess over him enough. We spent 15 minutes talking about Rick McCallum. What's wrong with us?
Exactly. And also, the last point on Rick McCallum is he was producing a movie that had nothing the likes have ever been done before at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing came close
at all.
And then the Attack of the Clones was digital, and that was even further away from what happened. But let's get into that period between the two movies, because you're 5-6 years old now, and the merchandise. There's a lot of stories. The merchandise didn't sell. I had a bunch of it because I was, going out to 20 and I needed the toys.
Of course.
But you were right. That merch was made for you. Did you have a poodoo ton of it?
So funny enough, I remember this, and I don't know if it was my mom being kind of a humanitarian, but I had Qui-Gon, I had Padme, I had like all of those TPM toys and a good bit of the Attack of the Clones toys. And I think once I stopped playing with them, there was like a period where, look, and I'll show you, this guy came into my life. And I think for most people that were not really young when this was a thing, oh my God, Pokemon was pretty much everywhere. So, and still is. But that took over right after. Like, I think 97 was when that first game came out, but the movie started coming out in 2000, 2001. And like that, boom. Then, of course, in 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out. But somewhere between there, all my Taco Bell toys got donated. And that was like whenever I stopped playing with those things, my mom would literally ask me, do you want these anymore? I'm like, I don't think so. And I'm not kidding. I would come home to them and they would not be there anymore. And that's what she did.
I have the same story.
Oh, it's brutal. It's the worst. You're like so mad at your younger self, but then again, you can't be mad,
I had the Ewok Village.
No way.
Yeah. I remember went to the toy store with my mom, and they pulled off the top shelf, and I had cousins who were older who had all the toys, so I got all the hand-me-downs. So I got new toys, and I had all the hand-me-downs. So I had all the original trilogy that you could think of. I had.
Oh,
and then one day, I think I have Obi-Wan now. 2 Han Solos from Jedi, and 2 Landos from Jedi. They're the exact same.
Yeah,
and a yellow stormtrooper missing fingers is what I have left from those.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
and
same
that's how
story.
it is.
I feel your pain.
It's weird. It's like, and of course I do have a lot of the I still have a lot of like, I have a Darth Sidious and like a clone trooper from the Revenge of the Sith era. But like, in terms of it being, all there again, I don't know. I miss it. And yeah, the marketing did work on a little kid. I mean, the thing back then as well as Lucas, LucasArts, who was making all the games. I mean, they put out like 4 games a year and they weren't bad games. That's the crazy part. They were putting out really, really good games. It was like, and they like lasted a long time. And of course I play, video games on my show, and like, I've got them all right here, but those are the things that kind of held me over as a kid, between movies or between, even after 2005 when Revenge of the Sith was done, though that's what held my interest over for so long, the 10-year gap, which is really weird because you had to experience the 17-year gap. You had the worst. Oh no, I'm sorry. The 16-year gap from 83 to 99. I couldn't even imagine what that was like. God.
It was weird because I was so young when the originals were out that I had all the toys. But then when you're a kid, there's He-Man, Thundercats, and then for you,
Sure.
Pokemon, Ninja Turtles came out. It was like
everywhere. Movies,
that
you
was.
name it.
I think to this day that was my most memorable movie. Going, I mean, Phantom Menace is really up there, but like live action Ninja Turtles was kind of like, what is happening here? And that was the first time I went to a movie and it was sold out. And my dad was my dad was not happy. He's like,
amazing.
We just stood in line and we can. Oh, and he took me back again like the next week, but he was not impressed with that.
That's amazing.
But it was like, so and then I know like Heir to the Empire, but I was too young for that. I would have been like 10. That's off my radar. Shadows of the Empire was like, what's happening?
That's what held you over. Yep.
Yeah. But one story they'll probably hear all week on this is Christmas Vacation was a big play at my house at Christmas time. We had it on the same VHS tape as Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I love that.
But it was after Return of the Jedi. So it's the greatest tape. So what I would do though is I would put it in and my dad would be like, set up the movie. So I go to hit fast forward and I would, no attention span. I'd hit play right away. Jabba's Palace.
Of course. Who wouldn't?
And I'm like sucked in. Every year this would happen. And every year my dad's like, what are you doing? And every like few years he would actually sit and we would watch every turn. And my mom's like, get the movie set up. We're like, we're stuck here.
Nope. Return of the Jedi all the way. And it's so funny. It's like, and you might agree with this, Return of the Jedi is a weird one because it may be the closest relative to the Phantom Menace.
Yes,
in terms of its weirdness, in terms of its setup. And like, I've always said this, since The Mandalorian came out, one of my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian is Jabba's palace sequence at the beginning of Return of the Jedi because it's 45 minutes exactly. It's like just enough time. It feels like an episode of The Mandalorian. It's weird. Yeah. It is just weird. It's chock full of stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of that movie because it feels so close to home. And I think that's the one besides TPM. I think those two VHSs, like they were in that player all the time. I don't know why. There's a relationship between them. There's
always
something
been my
there.
favorite aside from Phantom Menace when it pops up. But that was, I mean, again though, with my age, that was probably the one that is most kid friendly too. So it's probably the one that I was, and the toys, right? So it was like because I can't speak to whether it was the movie or the toys that made me love that movie.
See,
because the Jabba toy is one of my favorite toys of all time.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So who's to say? All right, you're getting older now. You're 7.
I know. Oh, Jesus. It's rough.
You're 7 or 8.
Started drinking.
Like, you started drinking. You're like, oh, there's Attack of the Clones movies coming out.
You know what? Oh, yeah, sorry. I have a great story though, but sorry.
Oh, I want to hear it.
my good story is I remember it coming out. I remember seeing it in theaters. I don't remember it being that much of an impact, but we were at our school fair, and this one kid was like, "I'm Darth Maul." And we were in a jumping house, a little blow up, bouncy house. And I said, well, I'm Yoda. And I remember vividly just like running across this bouncy, jumping, doing flips. And I'm like, I had like a foam lightsaber and I'm like hitting the hell out this kid. Cause like, that's what you left with as a kid. The movie was awesome. The romance is weird. My mom loves that movie for some reason. She talks about the movie constantly. I remember vividly when Anakin turned, when he had that moment where he kills the Tusken Raiders. Yeah. And like, even as a kid, realizing this is maybe not for kids. Like, that's how it felt. Because it was so visceral and so surreal. And, like, you watched his mom die. I'm like, this is pretty crazy. And I just remember the Yoda scene. Like, that's burned in my head still to this day. I remember the theater feeling crazy. I don't know. That's a weird one. That's the one I don't really have that much of a relationship to. Besides, and you might know this one, besides the Star Wars Bounty Hunter game. Whoo! That's the one that like carried my love from 2002 to 2005. That's the game I was nonstop at in Battlefront 1 and 2. Oh my god, great games.
The Bounty Hunter game was classified as canon, quote unquote canon, until the Disney Act. Well, it could still be canon. Who cares?
I think it might be. I think Book of Boba Fett's going to actually flesh it out, and I'm not kidding. I really
agree with you. I think I agree with you on that one. I think there'll be changes that need to be changed.
See, my only humble brag about that game is that I have talked to the creator of it. John Knowles is his name.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had 2 interviews with him before. And like they're some of my favorite discussions of all time because he's like, oh, we were going to include this. And I'm like, what? You know, there was supposed to be this level where like you're in a ship and it's crashing down. You're fighting IG-88 in the ship. I'm like, this is the craziest thing in the world. But, you know, that game for some reason just is always stuck in my brain, you know, and I have a great memory of playing it. And you can, I don't know why I remember this, but you could, you know, zip lines. You can like, what is the word called? You can rope them up. Essentially, you can like lasso them, and you can catch them on fire. I don't know why, but they would like burn and die and fall to the ground. And as a kid, I remember just like going up to pedestrians, going, and then they're like, and just catching them on fire and walking away.
And so you identified with Anakin the most in this.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was scared of it when he killed all those people, but I kind of get him.
I get it.
He
when you play video games, like I get it.
And it's funny because, like, you know, I imagine most people when they watch Attack of the Clones identify with other stuff, but like Jango was the person I was like, man, he is so cool. Like, you can't get cooler than Jango Fett, right?
I always like Jango better than Boba Fett.
Yep.
And now I'm like, well, Boba Fett's kind of, and he name dropped Jango, so I'm like, well, I'm on board with you now. But yeah, I was always a Jango. I want a Jango and Zam Wessel prequel series on Disney Plus.
Maybe
I want
day.
to see those two hanging out. I'm a huge Zam Wessel fan. Greatest bounty hunter ever.
Yeah, and a babe.
Yeah,
and a babe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Attack of the Clones didn't stick the landing didn't stick with me, but I was too young. Maybe I don't know. There was other things going on. But Revenge of the Sith,
Pokemon.
And Pokemon. Yeah, Pokemon. Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. You would have been 10 now, right?
Yeah, and it was amazing.
That's like the perfect age.
I was going to say it was the perfect age because you knew enough as to what was going on. And this is a wild story. And I have the book back there. I'm not going to grab it. I have the is it called DK? What were the old visual dictionary? Is that a different?
Yeah.
But I had the visual dictionary, and I'll never forget. I was looking on the internet, and this is 2004. I had just saw the Revenge of the Sith trailer before the Incredibles movie. So like it was November of 2004, and I think that's when the trailer dropped. And I was in the theater to see Incredibles, and I could literally Revenge of the Sith trailer came out. I couldn't even like fathom what I was going to watch. Incredibles became completely worthless to me. Like that whole movie was like my brain, the entire movie I'm watching Incredibles, I'm like, no, Star Wars is in my mind. So I went home and I remember flipping through the visual dictionary, and it had a picture of Palpatine as an old man. And then it had a picture of, obviously in the Phantom Menace one, of Palpatine as a young man. And like in my brain, I'm like, there's a connection here. And then in the Revenge of the Sith trailer, they had that one shot of Palpatine with the lightsaber and he's swinging it at the teaser trailer. And I'm like, they're going to show how that guy went to being this guy. And I'm like, this is going to be crazy. And of course, then it comes out with, you know, oh my God, Vader's in the trailer too. So we're going to see this guy go to this guy. And that was like the very first time, like that true, like synapses, the connection, like just boom, went into my brain. I'm like, no way. We're seeing how these people became these people in this movie. And let's be honest, it did not disappoint. That movie, I would almost say, is one of the best Star Wars movies for that reason, because it connects perfectly. Way better than I thought.
You know, I don't think I've asked you for yours yet, but we do a ranking Star Wars every year. I'm going to ask you for your ranking. And we do. So what we do, because it's ridiculous to rank Star Wars, because we love
it's hard.
It's subjective, and that's the thing. What we do is we get around 30 people, all of our patrons and friends, and we just put a list together, and I add them all up. And I put them in, and they're like, here's the list. And so it's no one's list. It's just ridiculous, but it's like Empire and Jedi or 1 and 2, whatever. Return of the Jedi. Last Jedi, usually in the middle, because it's either like really high or
everyone's
really
favorite,
low.
everyone's least favorite. Yeah.
It's right there. But Revenge of the Sith, everyone around your age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, that's always way up there.
Oh, it is.
The OT guys is a little bit lower, but it's for your age, that one skyrocket. Like it's always up there. And it got to the point, I want to say it was in our top 3 or 5 on our rankings.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Rogue One's always really high too, but that one was like, that one is like, because when we first started doing that was low. Like I think the first time we did it, it was Phantom Menace is always last, so I need your list.
So weird.
Phantom Menace last, is Attack of the Clones last? What those two flip flop one for last?
Of course, yeah, they tend to move.
And then I think third last or fourth last was Sith, and then after that we started including more people, and it blew up.
Yeah, but I think it's because of I don't know the way it's shot, the way it's done. It's almost like its own Star Wars movie. Like it is the perfect ending to the prequels. The music is insane. I had the CD. The CD came with a DVD about the journey of the music. It's just like I don't know why, but that movie, Revenge of the Sith, always stuck with me. And like, some things really work well still. And the fact that Ahsoka, has her own Revenge of the Sith arc now through Clone Wars. It's just like. It's crazy how important Order 66 is. It's like the moment that ties all of Star Wars together. So like I don't know, that movie was the perfect movie at that age. And like watching Anakin burn was insane as a kid because now you get it. Now it makes sense why he's in the suit. The suit never made sense to me when I was little because I didn't see the point in it.
No, but I don't think anyone was meant to either right then. But here's a question for you. Was there a time when you preferred that movie to Phantom Menace? Yeah,
there was because I think because it was it felt more epic, felt like a lot more happened, and Revenge of the Sith wasn't scared to kind of cut abruptly. Like, you would go to like I think literally I almost positive there's like 12 movies in Revenge of the Sith because it's just so they have like all the Clone Wars moments. They've got, some crazy things dealing with, what's the word I'm looking for? Like planetary battles, like right above Coruscant. Like it did so much that Star Wars hadn't done up until that point. And as a kid, you're just watching it like, this is great. The camaraderie between Anakin and Obi-Wan's great. I don't know. Grievous was amazing. I had a cardboard cutout of him as a kid. Like he was awesome. Amazing. It's just like, I wish I could truly figure out how to express it. But like that movie just felt like an event. And as a kid, I even remember going into it knowing this is the last Star Wars movie I'll ever see. And I saw it 3 times in theaters. And for someone who wasn't driving, like think about that. I went with my mom the first day it came out after school. I went with my dad that same weekend. I think I went maybe one more time the following weekend with my aunt, just like because I had asked so many times. And I remember those screenings vividly. They were so special. And I don't know, that'll be the one that I have the best memories of. But it's funny, like I even watch it today and I just know that it's still special. It's a special movie. I don't know, it's weird. It's a really special movie.
Yeah, I know it is. And it was, that's 28 years coming together for George Lucas in that moment. Wild. Right? When the mask comes down and sitting in the theater when the mask finally hits his face and there's that moment of silence before the breathing, which is there's nothing more iconic than his breathing, right? Like it's like the minute you hear it, you're like chills, right? It's like Star Wars, we're in it. Like I'll watch 3 more movies with this guy. Well, you're going to. Let's do it.
Literally.
I would watch more and more, like, and it's moments like that though that impact, like Rogue One, obviously, lives off of, and I gotta mention this because I don't know how you feel with you being younger and everything, but for me, the prequels and the original trilogies always kind of felt separate from each other in a lot of ways too, as I was through my years. And then actually it was Disney, Lords of the Sith, the novel Lords of the Sith. I read Lords of the Sith, and I was at my in-laws and something came up with Star Wars, and my father was like, "Oh, I got the VHSs," and he put on the widescreen VHS tapes, the special edition ones.
That's amazing.
Like he had a DVD VCR.
That's like 2012. Combo. I love that. That's amazing.
No, this is like 13 or 14 even.
Oh no way! Even better. So antiquated.
I know. It's
before it was charming. You know what I mean? Like now it's charming. VHSs are charming.
Then it was just pathetic.
It's like, so he puts that weirdo.
He puts in, I can't remember which one he put in. We ended up watching, I think, the original trilogy. I don't think he ever saw the prequels, but he put in whatever, and I'm watching it. I think it was Return of the Jedi. We worked in like reverse order. We put in Tarantino, the order on that one. We watch it back, and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, and I really think it's because of that book. I now hear Anakin in Vader a lot more than I used to, and they became like the same character.
Yes.
And it's just went out before, like I guess 10 years ago, whatever. They were always very separate, and now I'm like, nah, I really hear like now it's like I can hear the Hayden Christensen. I can hear that.
It's
Anakin
weird.
in
It's
there, yeah.
weird. I love that because I was at the beach with my family this past weekend. Oh, no, weekend. Whoa, this past summer. And we were down there and we were barbecuing in the little condo we were staying at. And these people were barbecuing next to us and had a Star Wars shirt on. He goes, oh, this young guy, probably like 15 or 16, is like, what's your favorite movie? And I said, The Phantom Menace is my all-time favorite. And he goes, I don't like those prequels because the guy that played Anakin just did a horrible job. And I'm like, oh, did he? And he's like, yeah, the director didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, oh, okay, 15-year-old. So I said, think about this. When you watch these movies, listen to the way Vader talks, okay, in the original trilogy. Then go back and watch The Phantom Menace. I'm sorry, go back and watch Revenge of the Sith and listen to how he talks, there. And it's you can't even argue it. Like, I love you. Just like the way he's talking. It's literally how Vader talks in the suit. And it's like the mannerisms, the awkwardness. Of course, this dude's going to be awkward. Like, people don't realize this. Of course, Anakin's going to be awkward. He was taken from his mother when he was 10 years old. He never had a dad. He was a literal slave being ran by this weird Toydarian man. Like, this dude's going to be awkward and weird. And so when it comes to love, he's going to have a really skewed vision of love. He's also going to have a really skewed way of being a person. He was literally forced into being a priest when he probably wasn't supposed to be. Like, this dude is conflicted. And then the second you have that realization, the second you have that kind of epiphany where you're like, oh, okay, maybe that does make sense. When you watch A New Hope, his character makes so much sense now. When you watch Empire and he's trying to get his son to the dark side and he talks like this, it's like, that's Vader. And literally when he has that moment, if you're not with me, you're against me. It's a terrible line, but it is still Vader.
Yeah, it's in line. It's in line with Vader.
Yes. It bothers me when people say that, oh, Hayden is a terrible actor. No, he's not. He's a great, if anything, it's proof he's an amazing actor and he found the subtext of the acting. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
Awkward and evil.
That was a great moment at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. He came out for the 40th anniversary. Yes. I remember I won't say who, but someone tweeted like, oh, everyone's giving a standing ovation. Do they remember how bad he was? And I was like,
that wasn't bad.
First of all, wrong crowd, buddy. And then I was I went to the stage, the Star Wars show stage, and he came out there. And I know a few people that aren't fond of his, and they were like, ah! But I'm glad that he's coming back in Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. I'm just glad that he's going to get a chance to do it. I was really hoping he would show up in the sequels. There was really, I guess, no place. I mean, maybe we could argue maybe in Rise of Skywalker there's a spot for him to show up in.
That's what I think.
But you know what? They are what they are. He didn't show up. So now you're still young. You're not even a teenager yet. And Star Wars is over.
No.
Done for good. You're 10. You're like,
done.
Oh, man.
Done.
I'm done. My life is why? What's the point? Pokemon.
And like, it was weird. Well, it was that too. And like, when you're in fourth grade, like, things are starting to change in terms of who you are and what you want. And like, you're like in that really weird stage between being a kid, being a teenager. And like, and honestly, I would say that's weirder than being a teenager because like, you've got cousins that are older than you that are doing stuff that you would not necessarily do. And you've got other people in your life that are younger than you it's just odd time. And so back then, which is pretty interesting, back then is when, the next generation of video games were coming out. And like they had, obviously there was a lull in there. I was playing a lot of Pokemon on my DS, just stuff like that. And there was kind of a break in some regard to my interest in Star Wars. What held it out was the video games though. James Bond came back. That was kind of what took over, to be honest with you. Daniel Craig's Bond. And like, I had finally gotten a hold of all those VHSs. I think I was old enough to kind of comprehend them. But like from then, I went straight into middle school, and then from middle school I was in high school, and all I wanted to do was play guitar, and chase girls. That's literally it. And like it was really weird because after that, the second I was done with high school, I graduated in 2014. That's when Star Wars came back. So like that period, honestly, was dedicated to music and dedicated to just typical high school pursuits, and just being a teenager. But the second I graduated and I could kind of be who I wanted to be again, you're not held to that, standing up being a high schooler, doing all kinds of high school stuff, I really fell back in love with the fandom. And like, I wasn't watching Rebels or anything, but I was really into just reading on Star Wars, watching them again. Marvel had became so big that kind of took a little bit of that space, but it's weird. Like, I'll never forget it was Black Friday 2014. I know you'll never forget either. I think that's the moment for everyone. That's going to be our Order 66, where like Star Wars kind of had a comeback, and you watch that trailer on that Black Friday, that first Force Awakens teaser trailer. And I remember I was 19. Yeah. Around 9. That'd be correct. Yeah. 1920. Yep. And I was watching like, wow, well, I know where my attention is going to be for the next however long. I still didn't think. I mean, we're going on 4 years now. 5. Oh no, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? It's not 2019. 6 years now, and I'm still just as obsessed as ever. But it's weird. It's the journey is still going on, dude, and it's always transforming. There's times where like these past couple of months has been hard, and I know it sounds stupid, but like we haven't gotten any new content, since Bad Batch. And Bad Batch was a palate cleanser, but like I never realized live action Star Wars television would mean more to me than the movies. And at this point it does. It's weird.
So between Sith and so you have no relationship with Clone Wars at that time.
Nope,
or
none
the
of it.
Disney purchase of it. You're just kind of
I remember the purchase very well. We were at lunch in high school and we were reading it on our laptops, and I was like, that's a big deal. And like we talked about it for a second, but I mean, I didn't know if they liked Star Wars or not. Like I didn't. The only thing I remember vividly from high school is my buddy Landon saying R2 just to make me laugh because of how Luke says it. He goes, those movies are great, but like every time R2's in a scene in Empire Strikes Back, he's like, R2. I'm like, I don't know why. I'll still do that to myself just to make myself laugh because it's so ridiculous. R2. It's just
amazing.
But yeah, dude, you're right. It wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
But you're at a different age, like you said. That was that. Awkward before teen. Then teen.
I'm glad they weren't out because I wouldn't have been enjoying them. I would have probably had a much more skewed vision of them. But when I was going through college, I mean, they were the forefront. I went to the what they call them, Force Fridays. I did all that like because I could, right? And I could buy the movie tickets the second they came out. Like it was weird. And it felt like it was for me again. And even though it was more catered to an original trilogy audience like yourself, it still hit everything I needed it to hit. Now, of course, we're very lucky now. We're very fortunate now that we're getting Kenobi. So it feels like my generation is having its Force Awakens, at least to me, where that's going to come out and that's going to be a moment.
I love the Force Awakens. I always call the Force Awakens a donut, where I'm like, it's really great. It tastes great, but it's kind of like empty calories. It's like...
Interesting. We're in the same. My buddy Eric loves it, and we talk about it constantly. It's his favorite sequel trilogy movie, and I'm like, it does things I like, but it felt like a love letter to the OT.
Yeah,
and it didn't really acknowledge that the prequels even existed, except for that one line that Hux says, where he's like, "Oh no." Yeah. That Kylo Ren says, like, well, should we just get clones instead or something like that? And that's it. I'm like, that's the only homage out of the whole sequel trilogy besides the use of Sidious and TLJ. But that's it.
Yeah, I was 2015. I was 20, 30, 34, 33, 34 when I saw that. Yeah. And I was like, they happened. Like,
yeah. Like we can acknowledge them.
Yeah. Like they're a thing. When the Pitchoys show up in Mandalorian, or even that Boba Fett trailer, I'm like,
oh my God.
Do it.
Why does that do that to me? It's so weird. Yeah. It's like the slightest acknowledgement of the prequels, or dude, I know everyone freaked out in my crew when they said the word M count. And then chapter 12 of the Mandalorian. I was like, no way, they just said M count. Like, I know what that means. They didn't even say it, but they said it. It was wild.
But the thing is, you can hate them all you want. It exists.
Yes,
it exists in the world. That's it.
Definitely,
like, you can't change that. You might want to, but you can't. And so that always frustrates me with all really, the prequels or sequels for the most part. But I think part of it too was. I love the prequels, and it's so hard to find people who love the prequels. And then I found people who love the prequels, And then they made new movies, and they're like, "But we don't like the prequels." And you're like, "But
Exactly.
what? Wait, what's going on?" No, but
So
the prequels,
weird.
And the original trilogy doesn't acknowledge the prequels that much because they couldn't, because they happened before the prequels.
Exist.
But
They
now
didn't
you have
exist.
a chance to like bring this world together.
Yes.
And they were like, nah, Jar Jar's buried in the sands back there.
It's so annoying. That's the one thing I don't like is that idea,
Yeah.
I'm
with you on that
the
one.
idea of that. Like why avoid something that came before it when it was obviously made by someone who loved it and cared for it? It wasn't like those movies were terrible. That's the thing. People like to say they're terrible movies because they refuse to take in what it is. And like, once you accept the movie for what it is, you can either love it or hate it. You're entirely up to your opinion. But you can't say you can't say any movie's a bad movie. It's just, I'm not that kind of person. Someone put a lot of work into it, even if it's terrible, but someone put effort into it, and it's someone's job. And like, to not acknowledge those movies was a little disheartening, but we did have Clone Wars. We did have things that did acknowledge it, that even fleshed out better. I hope the sequel trilogy gets an animated show, not like Resistance, but a really good animated show that fleshes out its story, because we can be honest. I mean, Tross had some pretty, great moments. Rise of Skywalker had some great moments, but like there was some convolution there with the Snoke part and the chambers. I'm like, this is just, what the hell is happening?
The 3 seconds of Mandalorian we got Snoke like was better than any explanation we got in the movie.
Exactly, because it was enough for you to go, oh, that's connecting the dots. Like that's where we want to go with this. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I hope one day that in, let's say 15 years from now, in 2036, we're all talking and hanging out, and we're like, man, I love that second season of Star Wars, whatever, fleshing out. Like, just like
I'm really curious to see the 5-year-olds that saw The Force Awakens when they're your age. That's
Get
what
this.
I'm really.
You're gonna
I'm
love
really
this. You're gonna love this. I'm a middle school teacher, and I started teaching at the school I'm at in 2019. So think about it this way. They're already vocal. They already feel strongly about it, because those kids that I taught, that I teach now, I taught them 2019. So now they're 8th graders. So I taught them when they're in 6th grade. They were like, I love The Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. Those are fairly new movies to them. And even now, them being like 13 or 14 years old, and we talk about Star Wars every now and then in class, and they ask me about it. They say their favorites and what they love the most is The Force Awakens and TLJ and Rogue One and all these other, and literally one kid who's really young, who I don't even teach yet, was like, my favorite is Solo. And I'm like, that's great. Like, these young people are now having their moments of realization. Like, they're going to grow up thinking no one disliked those movies. And it's going to be so surreal to have them have that moment of realization too. So it's already
I can tell you about the dislike on the prequels.
Yes. I won't even want to hear it, because I have a hard time believing it. I mean that. Like, I get it. I can respect it, but I have a hard time believing that it even
That's
happened.
so funny, because it's like your viewpoint was non-existent
so
20
weird.
years ago. Like, it's like, I shouldn't say that. Like, a lot of my friends like the prequels that I would go see those movies with. I want to go see it with somebody who didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
But the vast majority in the media wanted nothing to do with like, they're like, oh,
so weird.
And I think someone from like CNN, who was it, got disinvited to Attack of the Clones because she said that Phantom Menace was a failure.
Wow.
And they're like,
imagine?
Who was it? God, it was 20 years ago. I can't remember.
Was it Barbara Walters?
It was not. Barbara Walters.
She was at the premiere. There's a photo of it. I can see it.
That was the biggest event. But that's interesting that you say that, because I actually showed my nieces and nephew Rise of Skywalker when it came out on digital.
Nice.
Remember it came out early on digital, like 2 days early?
Because it
yeah, they happened to be over. I'm like, hey, let's watch this. Like, okay. And they didn't watch it. And they're not massive Star Wars fans, but they like it enough. And we're sitting there, and I'll never forget, it was because people hate this, but when he's like, you're a Palpatine to Rey, the two of them, their mouths dropped. Like,
yep.
Right. And then
that was their moment.
It was. And the next day we're outside and we can't do anything because COVID just hit. And they got sticks. We're like, look, I'm ready. And they don't play Star Wars. And they're starting to play Star Wars. And I was like, that's the point of the movie. We're like, whatever. We can think what we want. Everyone, that is what the movie, is made for.
Exactly.
And so, like, the Palpatine thing was just like, I never thought of it, and they're just like in shock, like what? Oh my
so
God.
wild.
And I was like,
I love that.
Yeah, that's what Star
That's
Wars
what I
is.
want to hear. It's just that's how it's supposed to be, That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So now we're going to talk about why The Last Jedi is the worst movie ever made, and how Rian Johnson.
That's it. That's it. We're in the finale of sorts. That's what we're gonna call it, a finale.
No, but okay, so how was it though in comparison to Revenge of the Sith? Did any of the sequels match up at all to your experience watching Revenge of the Sith? And I don't mean this like negative in like a negative way. Like I want you to tell me how it didn't. I just want, because like for me, like Force Awakens kind of was the equivalent to the Phantom Menace viewing experience. Maybe not the movie itself, but the experience. I'm talking. That's what I wanted to hear more about, is the experience watching the movie.
Look, my honest opinion, the sequels is I love them. They mean a lot to me. As I get older, they're going to mean even more, because those are the movies that brought me back, and I love having that. I remember I'm looking at old Facebook posts that I was making, hyping it up. Like, it's so cool, especially around this time. Like this, literally, 6 days from right now would have been when The Force Awakens came on 6 years ago. And there's something to it. Like, I remember seeing it with my family. I remember making my family go see him. I saw TFA 6 times at theaters. I saw TRG 6 times. I saw Tross 5 times, and like I saw Rogue One so many. It's just like, I don't know, as an adult, you can do things you want with this now. And like, I never disliked any of them, and I don't dislike them now. Are they what I want to see out of Star Wars? No, I think for me, their time has come, and it came, and it's done. We did it. What I watch them if they went back to them? Of course, that'd be the first in line. But in terms of where they're focusing now, like, yes, give me more of this guy, or yes, give me more of the little guy over my shoulder, like that. Like, give me that. That's new. That's inventive. I'm tired of stormtroopers being different versions of stormtroopers. I'm tired of rebellion being different versions of the rebellion. Like, I was hoping the sequel would have given us that, but it kind of stuck to that, which is fine. That's what they decided to do with that story. But now but
you know what? They brought you back with that though. So
they did. And that's how they bring you back. That's how you get back on this.
Yeah.
But in terms of just watching it, like, I love them. Does it compare to the prequels for me? Probably not. I think the prequels will always be a comfort movie. And I think even for me and my fiance, like, she'll put on we would rather watch The Phantom Menace than watch anything else. It's just a comfort movie. It's simple. It's easy. The music's great. You get hooked into it. You can just put it on. And weirdly enough, the movie that I still do that with, the new movies I do that with, is Solo. Solo was perfect. Like, people don't talk about Solo enough. The biggest twist in all of Star Wars recently was Solo, when Maul was at the end of it. That honestly blew me away more than anything else the sequels did, because that was so unexpected for me. I was like, there's no way they just did that. They're expecting people to know that Maul is still alive in a theater. And that was when I was like, Lucasfilm is like straight up looking at people like, hey, this is still going to matter. Like, you may thought he died, and now they made the Clone Wars feel validated. They made Rebels feel valid. They made everything feel validated. And I'm like, this is
a great word.
I said it one time, and oh my God, it went, I don't know why Twitter, like, of course, was like, oh, let's blow this tweet up. But I said, I love when they have what was the word? I used a great phrasing. Lucasfilm with this movie has held, like, it makes you, what's the word? It was a beautiful word. Not expectation. Held accountable. That was it. Lucasfilm now is making they're holding you accountable to understanding the story. And people got so sensitive over the word being held accountable, but it does. Like, you're watching Solo, and as a common fan, my mom literally looked at me and said, when does this take place with where's Rey? Because people don't know.
Yep.
People just don't know. And Solo was the first time where they were straight up like, we're kicking you where it hurts. Like, this is going to be unexpected. And no Star Wars movie has done that since, for me, where it was a true moment of shock. Vader in Rogue One, that was cool. I liked it. Not shocking though, because that's who he was. But like Maul and Solo, no one talks about it enough. That movie was phenomenal.
Maul and Solo, for me, absolutely love it. I'm a huge Darth Maul fan. Like, Darth Maul he's my favorite.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't get to go to Chicago Celebration. You might not get to talk about it on this show because we're running late. But all I wanted was to go to the Phantom Menace 20th anniversary panel.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I won the damn tickets for that one too. And I was like,
you got the lottery notification.
I gave it to my and my friend Andrew, who was there. My friend, I gave it to him, and he got to go.
Nice.
He was taking pictures, and I was like,
phenomenal.
I wish I was there. That's all I wanted the whole time, because that's my. I saw the Ray Park panel at Orlando with with Warwick Davis.
So good. So good.
Because Darth Maul, he's my absolute. But my two things with Maul at the end was, one, I wish they had like the plan to like expand on that going forward.
I think they will.
Me too. Even if that animated show that's being rumored. The other thing though is I love the Rebels, his death in Rebels, but I was almost like, if you didn't do that, like
I know, dude.
It's like the possibilities are endless.
I know, and I have this book, and I'm sure you've heard of it, the Star Wars Archives book by Paul Duncan, and I have the prequels one, and literally in the very back of it's like what Lucas would have done with the sequels, and Maul would have been one of the villains in the sequels. I'm like, that would have made it feel so insanely connected, be in the shadows the whole time. He becomes the Phantom Menace, and he comes back out like, oh my God, like that. Yeah, Maul is one of those that people know. He's literally on the side of this VHS I've been staring at the entire time. Like, he is just so big, and like for a character that has 3 lines, I mean, really, like in a movie, to be so important now in the story is just phenomenal. Yeah, that was a huge moment for me. That was the only shocking moment that Star Wars has given me besides Grogu and obviously Luke and the Mandalorian.
Grogu was the lightning in a bottle.
Grogu, I will never forget that. That's honestly where of course before TROS came out, like that, no one knew that was going to happen, and that changed that. It's so weird. This is such a weird phrase. If Disney had started off with that, I think we would have a whole different park. I think we'd have a whole different slate of shows. Like Jon Favreau and Dave, when they came up with that idea, that was beyond genius. Like within the first week of that show coming out, I almost said movie, my students were saying the word Baby Yoda. Like, it's just crazy how quick. Oh,
my niece, who I mentioned watching the thing. She's not a huge fan, but she was watching apparently, and my brother-in-law was like, he's like, I was watching it. I left for a second, and she's like, Baby Yoda, and he's like, there's no Baby Yoda. Like, so awesome. Baby Yoda. It didn't matter who you were. You said Baby Yoda. You knew it. You didn't hear anyone say Baby Yoda. You came up with that on your own, because that's what it was, right?
That's
all you know is Yoda. It's Baby Yoda.
So brilliant.
So good. All right, I can't keep you much longer, but I got to hear about your Star Wars Celebration Chicago experience. Just like sum it all up, Cole's notes, I guess. And then,
no. Yeah. James, I'm glad you asked, because no one talks about this enough with me, and I'm surprised. This is that's something that I think a lot of people have seen, and I have word from this. I know this guy that produced Earth to Ned, which is a Disney Plus show with the puppets. He's told me, because he helped do a feature for Star Wars. Like, they had a Star Wars crossover moment, and he had to like coordinate with Lucasfilm, and he was like, I watched your reaction video to like kind of hype me up, because I wasn't. He's like, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I just know that it was, and I know this video was popular. And he said, I would watch your video to hype me up before we would shoot that day. And he goes, I will sit next with one of the Lucasfilm's representatives. And I like, have you seen? He said, have you seen this? And he showed it to them. And he goes, I don't know who the representative was. He couldn't tell me who it was. Probably wasn't anyone big, but literally the representative says, oh no, we've all seen that video. And I was like, whoo! To think Kathy Kennedy was like, look how sad this guy is. Like,
do you think Kathy Kennedy and J.J. Abrams gave a high five when they watched that together?
Because it's weird. The thing about that video, which people don't realize, and I don't know why the YouTube algorithm decided to bless us with this, but obviously the trailer came out in April of 2019. I didn't upload that video in its full version with everyone's being featured on it until August of 2019.
Was it that late?
That 4 or 5 months late. I know. And so you're watching it and you're like, man, it just encapsulates the moment. And I think it was because I have other videos from other people and
Yeah.
me being the forefront. And look, it's not for show. That's the problem. People think these reaction videos are like just to get them hype. And I mean, literally, it's just who I am. I'm just always been kind of an emotional dude, very excited. And people, and of course, my students always pick on me for this. Why'd you cry, Mr. Jayro? Why'd you cry? I'm like, because I guess you don't realize it, but like they're too young. Obviously, they're like under the age of 13. Like they haven't had a spiritual moment, like a true spiritual moment. No, I'm not saying, I don't know what they've been through, but like to have a communal moment of such intensity where you've been waiting for this thing, the whole convention is hyped around this one trailer. The Mandalorian wasn't special then. Even the Phantom Menace, the thing they were marketing with that, but it wasn't that special, right? It wasn't a new thing. I think the only new thing, might have been Fallen Order, like there was nothing else that big that weekend. I think
no, it was just Skywalker weekend.
So like, and all we could say was, and in episode 9, because we didn't know the name of it. And so you're watching it. We hadn't seen footage. We hadn't heard interviews. The movie was already canned. It was done. They were in the post-production part of it. Like they weren't shooting anymore to our knowledge. And like, they barely showed us. We had no idea what this movie was going to be. And of course, off the controversialness of TLJ, you know, I loved it. I'm sure other people loved it. Other people didn't love it. So like, it was a weird moment in Star Wars. You're like, okay, how does this movie unite everyone? And it may not have been the movie, but I am damn positive to say that it was the trailer that reunited everyone.
Yes.
Because that trailer had everything. It even had Leia's theme. It had so much. It was just such a dense trailer. It was just perfect. And then of course at the very end you got Palpatine's laugh, which is, I mean, that's where I start crying, because I'm like, oh my God, like, are they doing this? No one expected that. And the room changed. The emotion of the room was like, what? And then the title, the Star Wars, and then in between it, The Rise of Skywalker, and the crowd went, wow. It was so magical, and having to sync that video up the first time I cried, because I'm like, this moment was huge, not just for me, but and at that convention, there was like 40,000 people, 40,000 other people.
It was big.
It was huge. And like in that event hall, the stadium, because it was literally a stadium. First time celebration has ever been held in a stadium. At the McCormick Convention Center and Stadium, there was 20,000 people in that room, and that room was packed. That actual arena was packed. It was just weird. And then we haven't had, maybe besides for Luke and the Mandalorian, we haven't had that moment in a while. Like true hype. And yes, the video is popular. Yes, people destroy me in the comments. It's great. But like, in terms of what it means to me, I will always love that video. Even if I don't find the movie to be particularly incredible, I will always love that trailer. That's just a perfect trailer. Yeah, does everything it wants. Do you remember watching it? The trailer and maybe even the reaction video?
I did a reaction video on my own from my car on my lunch break at work. I planned my lunch for that. I did a reaction, and my friend Andrew, who's on this channel with me a bunch of times, he's a huge Palpatine fan. That's his best friend. I'm just like, call me.
Yeah.
And we spoke. But yeah, it was it was a wild trailer. I didn't think the title reveal was exciting, but I also kind of was like, you could just tell us the title.
Exactly.
I'm like, I know he worked for Marvel, but like, it's Star Wars. Yeah. But yeah, the trailer was when she jumps over the TIE fighter, and it was
unreal.
It was a Kylo Ren like killing the guys, which ends up being on Mustafar. Like, it was just like perfect,
unreal,
perfectly
Lando
put together. Yeah,
that shot isn't even in Tross. That shot of him smiling.
True. Yeah.
Not even in the movie, and like. I don't know. And you saw Leia hugging Ray. I was like, and I remember crying because like they had talked about bringing her back. Yeah. We hadn't seen it officially, but like they had talked about it in interviews. And when they showed it and like she's really embracing him and embracing Ray, I was like, this is unreal. Like this can't be existing. Like I think it was so crazy and so in the moment. I really couldn't process it. And then you can see a very emotional person. And of course, they did the classic, and I'm sure you remember watching it afterwards. Rhoda it again.
Yeah.
And then,
and I watched
oh
it again.
my God. The whole weekend, dude. I know you weren't there. The whole weekend, people were repeating that. Wrote it again.
Oh, I know.
But
I talked. I did a live show every day with Andrew.
I love it.
And we talked, and he's like, "It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
A lot of fun." You're gonna be back. Are you gonna be back in Anaheim?
I've got guaranteed. Got the hotel. Got the tickets. So we gotta get the flights. Buying the flights this week. So you're gonna be there.
No, I'm not
gonna see you
this time.
Well, that's okay. You'll get a correspondent message. You'll get a video if you want.
Sucks
I'll
to
send
be
you a
you.
live reaction. Yeah, they're doing the Attack of the Clones panel now.
No, I know they would too. Attack of the Clones and Return of the Jedi all together. I'd be like,
you might have to find some way, even if you walked.
I would. You know what? When the day gets closer, I'll probably be like, I gotta get there.
Yeah,
so,
you gotta get there.
We'll see. But when it was in August, I was ready to.
Sure.
And then when they switched it to May, I was like, I don't even know if I can that weekend. That's
the
problem. So I was like, God,
I get it.
Yeah. And then Chicago was, I told you before, other things came up in Chicago that, they're ruining my life. Yeah. They're fun though. They're a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back to one at some point, whenever that is.
Yes.
But we've been going way too long. We'll have to do a part 2.
I'm fine with that. Hey, come back. You tell me. You tell me the day I'll be there, damn it. Yes.
What are your thoughts? Like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor. Final thoughts. How about that? Does that work?
Wow. Yeah, I can tell you this much. Like I said earlier, I think Bad Batch was a nice holdout, from Mando season 2 to this. And I love Bad Batch. It was great. It did a lot for me. It did a lot for the story of Star Wars too. But in terms of like true hype, I mean, the live action shows have been unreal. They've just been unreal. Like every I guess now it's gonna be Wednesday, but every Friday morning when they were coming out, I honestly looked so forward to that, and I've missed that urge to be like super excited every Friday morning, and I'm excited to be every Wednesday morning now. I'm just so happy to have that back, and it looks like 2022 is going to be a year of a lot of that. And Marvel had its past year. I mean, right? I mean, Marvel had all like 4 of its shows come out, and they were all fantastic. But I'm so happy to know that Lucasfilm or Star Wars, even with the Willow show coming out, is going to have its moment. So I don't know. I'm most hyped for Kenobi just because of who I am as a prequels baby. But I mean, coming close behind it is gonna 100% be Book of Boba Fett, because I mean, you've got the same 2 guys that have made The Mandalorian who have honored the prequels and the OT and the sequels. It just seems like those are the shows that make Star Wars the blanket term Star Wars now, if that makes any sense. Like when I thought of Star Wars, I thought of the prequels, whereas other people thought of the OT, where now people are going to think of the sequels. But like when you watch The Mandalorian, when you sit down that morning, even for Boba Fett, I'd imagine, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's phenomenal. It's so different than what we've used to doing. So, yep, I think those are my 2 most hype. Andor is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a lot of episodes of that show. And what was the other one? Ahsoka is going to be amazing too, because it's Dave. But in terms of hype, oh my God, come on now. Kenobi's going to kill it. And then, of course, my boy back there. Whoo! I'm pumped. I'm so pumped. And I'm glad I could do this, though. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. We got to do more. Yeah,
we got to. What are you excited for? Sorry, James, I didn't even ask you. What are you excited for?
Well, this is my. I don't answer the questions here, so we're gonna move on. Weird. I'm with you on Kenobi. Because the thing with Kenobi is I was never. And don't get me wrong, I love the prequels. I love Ewan McGregor's performance. But when Solo came out, everyone said we want a Kenobi movie, not Solo. I was always like, no, I'm more interested in a Solo movie. That's for me. Because I'm like Kenobi, like he sits around in the desert, and like it's not that I didn't think they could do more with that. I'm like, I'm pretty content with that. Like, I'm content with Kenobi's story.
Yes.
But the thing now is it's happening, obviously, and I don't know I don't know what to expect.
That's
I'm
the
like,
best part.
We're who knows how many months away from it. Don't know what to expect. The class has been announced, and they just had O'Shea Jackson came out. And he goes, I see all the people leaking, and he's like, He's like, they don't even know. They don't even know.
They don't
And
even
I'm
know.
like, what is
Yep.
that? What is this show about? I don't like. So yeah, I'm really excited for that one. And again, like prequel, who knows how close to the prequels it'll be in visually or anything, but
give us a
yeah,
podcast moment.
I'm real. And you know what? I'm actually looking forward to Andor because I like that Rogue One. I like in between. I just love this idea of. I know Andor will probably be more original trilogy look like Rogue One, but I love the idea that the Empire took over and the galaxy went to hell. And that's why it looks the way it does, right? It's not clean anymore.
Yes,
I always love that. And I think that's something that hasn't been since Lucas and your boy McCallum. It hasn't been appreciated enough. You know, it's like, I want to see that. Like, I just want to see it get grittier and dirtier because the Empire sucks, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't care. Oh, it's brilliant. Hey, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, well, I won't take any more of your time. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you if they can't? And what video game will you be playing the week of this airs? I don't know.
This week, I've been on a kick of playing.
This is the end of December. The end of December.
Yep, I'll be playing Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I love that game. I've been recently. I've been like struggling with like what games do I play because I've been on a kick of like let's play new games you never played before, and then when I do that I don't know what I'm doing on stream and I'm not talking. I'm so focused in the game, so I'm like that's so dumb. So let's rethink this, Scott, and let's do games you grew up with, games that you can talk over, games that you can even banter on, games you know the history about. And I decided to do Ocarina of Time, which is the one that I love. Bombad Gaming is the show, and I love playing that game. I might even play some today. But of course, you can find at the Scott Jayro on Twitter. You can also find Bombadcast every Thursday. We're doing our Book of Boba Fett recap show. The second that episode drops, so we're going to be doing a recap show on December 30th with a couple of guests, and it's going to be the next Thursdays until the show's done. I think like February 2nd. So we are going to be talking a lot of Book of Boba Fett. But I'm just happy to know that Star Wars is feeling the way that Star Wars does now, and I'm glad to do this with you, dude. This was a bombad blast.
Bombad
blast,
Bomb blast.
I know I'm from Louisiana and I'm used to Mardi Gras, but this is a different version of Mardi Gras.
Those are available on TeePublic, right?
Yes, they are. If you want to look 80s, there's a cream-colored shirt, by the way. That's why I look so off-colored. I had someone say to me, why do you wear dirty shirts? I'm like, it's not dirty. It's cream-colored to look vintage.
It does.
It does.
It does look vintage. It does.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, thanks so much for joining me here. To everybody else, may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.